I, 32F, have been with my fiancé Tyler, 30M, for 5 years now. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party and hit it off immediately. He was charming, ambitious, and seemed to have his life together. After dating for 4 years, he proposed last year and we're supposed to get married in 2 months. Everything was perfect until last week when Tyler dropped a bomb that has me questioning our entire future together. We both have successful careers. I'm a senior software developer at a tech company and Tyler works as an investment analyst. We make good money and have always been responsible with our finances. When we moved in together 3 years ago, we decided to split all expenses equally and maintain separate accounts for personal spending while having a joint account for shared expenses and savings. We've been saving aggressively for our wedding, honeymoon, and a house down payment. Tyler comes from what I thought was a stable family. His parents Mark, 60M, and Linda, 58F, have been married for 35 years. They lived in the same house since Tyler was born, seemed comfortable financially, and recently retired, Mark from his government job last year and Linda from her teaching position 2 years ago. They had what looked like a perfect marriage from the outside, but I started noticing some red flags early in my relationship with Tyler. The first time I realized something was off was about 4 years ago. We were having dinner at my place when Mark called Tyler at 11 p.m., crying about how Linda was destroying their marriage because she questioned him about some missing money from their account. Tyler spent 2 hours on the phone consoling his dad while our date night was ruined. This became a pattern. Mark would call Tyler late at night to complain about Linda, saying she was controlling, she didn't respect him, she was too focused on their finances, she was turning their younger son Kevin against him. Tyler's brother Kevin, 28M, works as a bartender and lives paycheck to paycheck in a small one-bedroom apartment. Unlike Tyler, who always sided with their dad, Kevin seemed to have a closer relationship with Linda. I never understood why until now. 2 weeks ago, Mark and Linda separated after a huge fight. Mark moved out and started couch surfing between Tyler and Kevin's places. Tyler has only heard his dad's version of events and hasn't spoken to his mom since the separation. Mark's story is that Linda became cold and controlling after retirement, constantly nagging him about money and accusing him of hiding things from her. Yesterday, Tyler came home and casually mentioned that he had offered to help his dad financially. When I asked for details, he revealed he had already promised his dad $20,000 to cover legal fees and first month's rent/deposit on an apartment. I was shocked. That money was part of our house down payment savings. We had been planning to buy our first home right after the honeymoon. When I expressed my concerns, Tyler got defensive and angry. "He's my father," Tyler said. "What am I supposed to do? Let him be homeless?" Family helps family. But there's more to the story that Tyler refuses to see. Linda called me last week, crying. She wanted to explain her side since Tyler wouldn't take her calls. According to Linda, Mark has had a gambling problem for years. She showed me bank statements proving he had withdrawn over $100,000 from their retirement accounts in the past year alone. When she confronted him about the missing money, he became verbally abusive and started manipulating their sons against her. Linda had tried to protect Tyler and Kevin from their dad's problems while they were growing up. She would cover for Mark's financial mistakes, work extra jobs to make up for the money he lost, and try to maintain a normal family life. But after retirement, the gambling got worse. Mark started taking larger amounts from their savings, saying he had a foolproof system to win it all back. I tried showing Tyler the bank statements his mom sent me, but he refused to even look at them. He insists his mom is just bitter and trying to turn everyone against his dad. The way Tyler completely dismisses his mom's side of the story reminds me of how my cousin's husband acted during their divorce, completely manipulated by his mother's lies until it was too late. Now I'm worried about my own future. We have our dream wedding planned for October, a beautiful vineyard ceremony followed by a 2-week honeymoon in Hawaii. We've already paid deposits for most things and sent out invitations. We were supposed to start house hunting right after returning from our honeymoon. Tyler had found a perfect neighborhood with great schools since we plan to have kids in a few years. But how can I proceed with these plans when Tyler makes huge financial decisions without consulting me? This isn't just about the money, it's about trust and respect. We're supposed to be partners, but he didn't even consider discussing this with me before offering such a large sum to his dad. I'm also concerned about Mark's influence on Tyler. Over the years, I've watched how Mark manipulates Tyler emotionally. Whenever Mark and Linda fought, he would call Tyler crying and playing the victim. This resulted in Tyler always taking his dad's side and his relationship with his mom becoming increasingly strained. Now I wonder if Mark will become a constant financial drain on our marriage. Tyler keeps saying his dad is going through a rough time and needs our support. But I'm worried Mark is just going to take advantage of Tyler's generosity and keep asking for more money. How can I make Tyler understand that while supporting family is important, we need to set boundaries and protect our own financial future too? Every time I try bringing it up, he gets angry and accuses me of not caring about his family. Should I postpone the wedding until we can figure this out? Am I being unreasonable for wanting to protect our financial future? How do I make Tyler see that his dad might be manipulating him without pushing him further away? This post turned out longer than I expected, but I really need advice. Has anyone dealt with a similar situation? How did you handle it? Update 1: Things have gotten dramatically worse since my last post. After reading the comments suggesting I make Tyler hear his mom's side of the story, I finally convinced him to go see Linda together. I told him it wasn't fair to make decisions about such large amounts of money without hearing both sides, and he reluctantly agreed. When we arrived at Linda's house last Saturday, I barely recognized it. Linda, who always kept an immaculate home, looked exhausted and the house was a mess of paperwork spread across the dining table. She had been going through years of financial records, trying to document everything for her lawyer. Linda broke down crying when Tyler walked in. It was the first time he'd seen her since the separation. She hugged him and kept saying how sorry she was for not telling him about his father's problems sooner. Tyler was stiff and defensive at first, but what Linda showed us next changed everything. She had meticulously organized folders full of bank statements, credit card bills, and loan documents. The evidence was overwhelming. Mark had withdrawn over $100,000 from their retirement accounts in the past year, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. There were maxed-out credit cards, secret loans, and even a second mortgage on their house that Linda knew nothing about until she started getting collection calls. Tyler sat there in silence, his face getting paler as Linda explained how she discovered Mark's gambling addiction when Tyler was just 12. She found receipts from casinos and confronted Mark, who promised to get help. He attended Gamblers Anonymous for a while and things seemed better. Linda thought he had recovered, but now she realizes he had just gotten better at hiding it. Seeing the proof right in front of him, Tyler started questioning everything. Why did his dad always need to borrow money for vague business opportunities? Why did he always have elaborate excuses for where the money went? Why did he always call late at night when he was stranded somewhere needing cash? But the real bombshell dropped at 2 a.m. that same night. We were awakened by loud banging on our apartment door. It was Mark, completely drunk and demanding to see Tyler. I wanted to call the police, but Tyler insisted on letting his dad in, a decision we both regret now. Mark stumbled in, reeking of alcohol, and started ranting about how Linda was trying to destroy him. But in his drunken state, he let something slip that made my blood run cold. He mentioned needing the rest of the money to pay off some guys who were threatening him. Tyler looked confused and asked what money he was talking about. That's when everything unraveled. Mark revealed he hadn't just borrowed $20,000 from Tyler, he had already taken $35,000 and lost it all gambling last week. Tyler broke down and finally confessed to me that he had been secretly withdrawing money from our joint account for weeks. He admitted he knew about his dad's gambling but thought he could help him win back the money. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those times Tyler was working late recently, he was actually driving his dad to casinos, convinced they had a system to win big and solve everything. They had lost not just our house down payment but also part of our wedding funds. The next morning, Kevin called me in tears. While staying at Kevin's apartment, Mark had stolen his laptop containing all his personal information, and about $800 in cash Kevin had been saving for rent. Kevin finally told me about growing up watching their dad's cycles of gambling, promises, and relapse. How Linda would pick up extra tutoring jobs to make ends meet while Mark told everyone she was money-obsessed for questioning his spending. Tyler is finally seeing the truth about his dad, but the damage to our relationship might be irreparable. I've moved out temporarily to stay with my sister. I needed space to think after discovering the extent of Tyler's deception. He calls constantly, crying and promising to get the money back somehow, saying he'll work extra jobs, sell his car, anything to fix this. Our wedding is in 6 weeks. The venue keeps calling about final payments and details, but I honestly don't know if there's going to be a wedding. How can I marry someone who lied to me for weeks and gambled away our future? Even if Tyler gets help and pays back the money, the trust is broken. Linda called me yesterday to apologize, saying she feels responsible for not stopping Mark's influence over Tyler sooner. She tried to protect her sons from their father's addiction but ended up enabling him to hurt the next generation too. Kevin is staying with her now, trying to deal with the identity theft issues from his stolen laptop. I love Tyler, and I know his dad manipulated him, but I'm struggling to forgive the lies and secret withdrawals from our joint account. Some of our friends think I'm being too harsh and should stand by Tyler while he deals with his father's addiction. Others say I dodged a bullet by discovering this before the wedding. I honestly don't know what to do. The worst part is that Mark is still out there somewhere, probably gambling away whatever money he has left. Tyler finally blocked his dad's number, but we all know this isn't over. I'm worried about what Mark might do next, especially now that he has Kevin's personal information. I'll update again when I figure out what I'm going to do about the wedding. Right now, I'm just trying to process everything and decide if this relationship can be saved. Update 2. After 3 weeks of minimal contact, I finally agreed to meet Tyler for coffee at a neutral location. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, had lost weight, and his usual clean-cut appearance was completely disheveled. As soon as I sat down, he started telling me how everything had gotten even worse with his dad. The police are now involved because Mark broke into Linda's house last weekend while she was visiting her sister. He stole all her jewelry, including her grandmother's antique wedding ring that was supposed to be passed down to Kevin's future wife. Linda came home to find her bedroom ransacked and her safe emptied. The police found evidence that Mark had sold everything to a pawn shop for gambling money, but the jewelry was already gone, melted down for quick cash. But that's not even the worst part. Remember Kevin's stolen laptop? Well, Mark used Kevin's personal information to take out multiple loans and credit cards in Kevin's name. Kevin only discovered this when he tried to rent a new apartment, and was denied due to his credit score dropping from 780 to 450. He's now over $45,000 in debt because of Mark's identity theft. Tyler spent the last few weeks going through all our financial records with a fine-tooth comb. What he discovered made him physically sick. Mark had somehow gotten access to Tyler's online banking information, probably when Tyler let him use his laptop during one of his stays with us. Over the past year, Mark had been making small transfers of $200 to $300 to himself, totaling another $12,000. Tyler never noticed because he rarely checked his statements and the amounts were small enough not to trigger any alerts. I sat there listening to all this, feeling a mix of horror at Mark's actions and vindication that I was right about him all along. Tyler kept apologizing, saying he should have listened to me and his mom from the start. He's pulled all his money out of his old accounts and opened new ones at a different bank. He's also filed a police report about the stolen money, even though he knows this might mean his dad goes to jail. The family is completely torn apart now. Linda is pressing charges for the jewelry theft. Kevin is working with the police on the identity theft case and trying to get the fraudulent loans removed from his credit report. Tyler has finally cut all contact with his dad and blocked him on everything after Mark showed up at his office trying to get more money. What really broke my heart was when Tyler showed me a letter his mom had given him. It was from his childhood, a school assignment where they had to write about their hero. 10-year-old Tyler had written about how his dad was his hero because he always fixed everything and protected the family. Reading that letter now, knowing how Mark had manipulated and stolen from his own children, made everything so much more tragic. I've made my decision about the wedding. I called the venue yesterday and canceled everything. Most of our deposits are non-refundable, but I don't care about the money anymore. I can't marry someone who hid such huge financial decisions from me, no matter what the reasons were. The trust is broken, and I don't know if it can ever be repaired. Tyler didn't fight my decision to cancel the wedding. He's focused on helping Kevin navigate the identity theft mess and supporting his mom through the divorce proceedings. The silver lining in all this is that Tyler and Linda have finally reconciled. He spends most evenings at her house now, going through old financial records and helping her lawyers build their case against Mark. Some unexpected truth came out during all this too. Remember those late-night calls Mark used to make to Tyler about Linda being controlling with money? Turns out those calls usually happened right after Linda caught Mark lying about gambling losses or tried to stop him from taking money from their accounts. He would immediately call Tyler to spin the story his way before Linda could talk to him. He'd been manipulating Tyler against his mom for years. I'm returning the engagement ring next week. Tyler insisted I keep it since it was bought before all this happened, but it just feels wrong. Every time I look at it, I remember all the lies and secret withdrawals from our joint account. The dreams we had of our future together, the house, the kids, growing old together, they all feel tainted now. The hardest part is that I still love Tyler. I know his father manipulated him, and I can see how genuinely sorry he is. But love isn't always enough when trust is destroyed. Sometimes good people make bad choices that have permanent consequences. Update 3. I've been hesitant to post this final update because it's still painful to write about, but I think I owe it to everyone who's been following this story. A lot has happened in the past 3 months, and none of it is good. Mark was arrested last week after his latest scheme went horribly wrong. He had been staying with an elderly neighbor in his apartment complex, pretending to help her with errands but actually stealing her social security checks and using her credit cards. The neighbor's daughter discovered what was happening when she visited and found collection notices for cards her mother never opened. The police investigation uncovered that this wasn't an isolated incident. Mark had been running similar scams with other elderly residents in the area. During the investigation, the police found evidence of all his other fraudulent activities. They discovered he had stolen over $200,000 from various victims in the past year alone, including the money he took from Tyler and Kevin. He's facing multiple charges of fraud, identity theft, and elder abuse. His lawyer is trying to use his gambling addiction as a defense, but given the systematic nature of his scams, it's likely he's going to serve time. Kevin called me last week to update me about the identity theft situation. His credit is still ruined, but the banks have agreed to remove the fraudulent loans after the police provided evidence of Mark's crimes. He's slowly rebuilding his life and has moved in with Linda permanently to save money. The silver lining is that his relationship with his mom is stronger than ever. Tyler started therapy to deal with the guilt and manipulation. His therapist helped him understand how Mark had been emotionally abusing him for years, using him as a pawn against Linda and exploiting his desire to be a good son. He's been trying to make amends with everyone, paying back what he can to Kevin, supporting his mom through the divorce, and even reached out to apologize to me again. Linda's divorce is almost finalized. The courts froze all their assets when Mark's crimes came to light, but Linda's lawyer is confident she'll be able to keep the house and what's left of her retirement fund. She's started teaching part-time again to make ends meet. The local news picked up the story of Mark's elder abuse scheme, and seeing her ex-husband's crimes splashed across the headlines has been hard for her. As for me, I took a job offer in Seattle and moved 3 weeks ago. The distance has helped me gain perspective on everything that happened. Tyler tried to contact me before I left, wanting to return my portion of the money he took from our joint account. I told him to keep it and use it to help Kevin instead. Some debts can't be repaid with just money. I heard through mutual friends that Tyler sold his car and took a second job to pay back everyone he borrowed from to give to his dad. He's living in a tiny studio apartment now, sending most of his money to Kevin and his mom. Part of me admires his dedication to making things right, but I know I made the correct decision in ending our relationship. My sister thinks I should be more forgiving since Tyler was also a victim of his father's manipulation. Maybe she's right, but I can't get past the weeks of lies and secret withdrawals from our joint account. Trust, once broken, is like a shattered mirror. You can try to piece it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. Sometimes I catch myself wondering what our life would have been like if Mark hadn't destroyed everything. Would we be married now? Living in our new house? Planning for children? But those thoughts don't help anyone. All I can do is move forward and be grateful I discovered the truth before tying myself legally and financially to this family. I don't plan to post any more updates. This chapter of my life is finally closed, and I'm ready to start fresh. Thank you to everyone who offered advice and support throughout this ordeal. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the right ones, even when they break your heart.